I'm so excited that I need to pee, but I just need to film this video, just get the raw emotions. So hopefully I won't get a UTI from holding in my pee. Hi, my name is Lizzie. I am about 6 months into my self-taught UX journey, and the reason why I'm out of breath right now is because I just finished up my big stakeholders meeting where I presented my research and final version of my prototype for the redesign of a senator's website to the senator himself, and it went so well. Oh my goodness. So in anything that I do, I want to share my learnings with y'all. So what I'll be sharing are 3 things. One is 3 of the biggest learnings from working on a pro bono UX case. Second is 2 things that I am hoping to continue to learn in my next project for my portfolio. And then the 3rd thing is my greatest piece of portfolio advice that I have learned so far. Okay, one thing that I learned from my pro bono project is testing and research is so fucking important. And the reason is because UX design is basically a science. If you really think about it, like, you've created a hypothesis that this design will do the function most efficiently, or whatever your goal is. And then you're testing that with user testing. With every design and every test over the past 3 months, I got closer and closer to getting the most efficient design. In my final prototype right now, which is like version 5 with over 50 changes, people were able to find the information that they needed in a timely manner. At the very beginning of this project, where the website stood, the way that the information was organized on the website was just, it was not cohesive, and it was not easy to navigate for people at all. Now, the second biggest learning from this project, I would say, is understanding the importance of collaboration through cross-functional teams. I knew at the very beginning that there was this big emphasis in the design space on collaboration, and so I explored that idea with this project. What I did was, throughout the process of creating my designs and throughout the research and testing periods, I would go back to the senator's office and solicit feedback from the members on the senator's team. And it was a little bit simpler for me because the senator's team had a core people of 5. And so there was a head person that led the communications domain. There was a head person that led the constituent services domain. There was a head person that led the legislative domain, and so forth. What I was able to do was to ask them questions about their expertise so that I could also get a better idea of how to streamline their work, which then also ties back into the business side of things, right? Like, the reasons why I'm redesigning this website is for the user, so that's easier for them to navigate the website so they can find the information that they need. But the other part of this larger goal is also business oriented, about like how might we be able to streamline the work for the senator's core office, because there is such limited resources and no time to waste for them. Now, the 3rd big learning from my project is you have to set deadlines for yourself. So because I initiated this contract with the senator's office, they were quite lenient on the timeline of when I could deliver on my deliverables. So I kind of set a soft deadline to finish this project by the summertime, but as you might all know through your own experience, time flies. The first month, I felt like I was super productive and like super zeroed in on this project, but then the second month rolled in and I admittedly fell behind. But it wasn't until I took another look at where I wanted to be by the end of summer, which is to be job ready and to also launch this new website for the senator because his re-election is coming up in the fall time. By thinking about my personal goals and the business priorities that I have committed to, that was a kicker for me to be like, okay, I need to get on top of my shit and to create hard deadlines so that I can respect both my personal and business commitments. Honestly, if I didn't have that hard deadline set, I think that I would have kept pushing the deadline back just because I didn't have someone on the center's team to give me a hard deadline. So I had to take that upon myself. Now, the two things that I want to learn more about in my next portfolio project is to develop my UI skills. So by nature of the center's website, the goal wasn't to make it, super innovative. It was more so straight to the point of like, how can we make this website as easy to use as possible? I didn't have the opportunity to experiment with cool UI trends, but in my next project, I do want to experiment a little bit more with UI, see how I can push myself to develop skill sets that I don't have right now around UI. The second thing that I want to learn more about in my next project is what sort of industry or types of products and services I want to work on. I think that's important for me because I think a lot of new designers approach the job search with a numbers game approach, which is basically like casting your net wide, applying to as many jobs as you can. But that's not the approach that I want to take because I know for myself that I have a threshold of energy and time that I want to put towards my job search. And so the way that I'm going to make it a lot easier for myself is to think a little bit more efficiently. The way that I'm going to do this is to spend more time honing in on the industry that I actually want to work for rather than just any industry. And so the way that I'm planning on doing this is through two approaches. One is first a thinking approach. So actually taking time to think deeply about what I actually care about, what my skill sets are, and what industry I would want to work for, and then think about what sort of products and services within that scope of industry that I would care to spend my time working on. And then the second approach is then to take that knowledge and design my second portfolio piece around that. An example of this is, let's just say that I'm interested in working in the transportation industry. I would think about, okay, well, what are my skill sets that I can transfer over to being a UX designer within the transportation industry? Do I even have any experience with transportation? For me specifically, I have worked in government and I've worked with the public transportation system in Massachusetts. So maybe that informs why I might be interested in working as a UX designer in transportation. And then my next approach is, okay, well, what are some products and services that are within this industry of transportation? One that comes to mind is Lyft and Uber. So then I'll think a little bit more about, okay, like, are these services that I care about? So let's say that the end conclusion is, yes, I am very keen on working within transportation and I would love to be a UX designer for Lyft or Uber. What I'll do next is that I will take that information and use that to inform my next project in my portfolio. And the reason why I would do this is because let's say that I apply to Lyft and I get the opportunity to interview, right? And to showcase my portfolio. I will not only be able to say that, hey, I am interested in this industry, but look, I've also spent time thinking about it in the lens as a UX designer. Let me tell you about an idea that I've created within this product space through my portfolio. So that's basically how I am strategically going about building my portfolio. And I would really encourage that anyone that is a new UX designer and building their portfolio to also consider this as a strategy as well. Now, the one piece of advice that I will impart for anyone that is building their portfolio right now is try your best to secure a pro bono real life UX project. This is not only going to train you what it's actually like to work on a real life project where there are constraints like time constraints, engineering constraints, budget constraints, but it will also give you actual experience to leverage when it comes to talking about your value to a hiring manager. It's one thing to learn these things theoretically, but it's another to have real life applications. That's why I would do a real life project if you can. That's all that I really have to share today. Thank you so much for letting me share my journey online and celebrate this milestone with me. If you followed my journey, you know that I've had highs and I've had lows. Recently, one being that I got rejected from my first UX job that I applied for with HubSpot, and it was a major blow. I'm definitely in a happier place now because I am trusting the process again and just putting my love and energy and time into learning to become a UX designer. So that rejection and the negative feelings that came from that rejection is now behind me, and I'm so happy to be moving forward and to be graced with this milestone that I'm going to be celebrating tonight with my friend. We're going to be making dinner. And if you haven't yet joined my Discord Struggle Bus community, the link is in the description box below. Consider joining because it's a resource network and a social space where I connect everyone that comes to my YouTube channel that is struggling to break into UX there. And so we're just a big, fat, loving community there, and I would love to have you join us. Please also consider to leave me some love virtually somewhere, somehow. If you reach out to me and like share your stories and where you are in your UX journey, I hella appreciate that, and like I'll try my best to respond, which I think I do for the most part anyway. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in my next videos. Later!